very warm welcome to firstly, our guest speakers this evening, and to you who have given up your time to join us to hear from our esteemed speakers. So, I'm Carol Edmondson. I am a volunteer event host with Kaushalya UK. And for those who've not been on the platform before, Kaushalya UK is a not-for-profit community organisation with the heart of community behind what they do. The founder and CEO of Kaushalya UK is Ritu Sharma, who's not able to come on camera at the moment, but will be later on. Now, Ritu is a Women Empowerment Ambassador. She is also an actor, an entrepreneur, a published author, an expert speaker. So Raja, get her for one of your events. And
sounds good. Sign her up.
And a woman she's someone who has women at the heart of what she does, because Kaushalya UK is named after her paternal grandmother, and she started Kaushalya UK to empower women initially when it was set up, to not just those who are in dire straits, but to provide the opportunity for personal and professional growth. The other projects that take place within Kaushalya UK are health and well-being, financial education and entrepreneurship, social events, and because we do have 2 face-to-face events in our local area called Let's Talk Happiness, that's run on the 1st and 3rd Monday of the month. So actually, Ritu, I'm not sure if you're able to speak now because you're not able to come on camera, or I can hand over to you later on.
We are good. We can start, Carolyn. I can join in after I'm done with my parents' evening. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So let's get the show on the road. So thank you for those who are watching via Facebook live stream. A warm welcome to you. And, you know, this is an event where it's a safe space where our speakers can share their story, their journey, their products or their services, or a combination of all of those. So I warmly would like to welcome you to our first guest speaker. And bear with me one moment, Raja. I'm just going to spotlight you.
Sure thing.
So our first guest speaker of the evening, kicking us off, I am super excited to introduce and welcome Bhavesh Raja Vaidya. From the fighting city of brotherly love, this kickboxing, opera singing, cancer scientist from Philadelphia. Warm welcome to you, Raja. Rocky Balboa can't stand toe-to-toe with this guy. Ring the victory bell for the mind shift master who will make you believe it and become it. Raja Vaidya!
Thank you so much, Carol, for that amazing intro. You get a ring of the victory bell for doing that. And by the way, just so you know, I'm the speaker that can't talk right. You're going to hear me get stuck on my words every once in a while, but that's probably a good thing because I think God gave me this handicap, so I probably don't talk too much. So let's move right into it. And Carol, well, what do you got for me? What do you want to learn from me? And you're muted.
This is your opportunity, Raja, to tell us about you. What got you started in kickboxing? What got you started with the coaching business that you do? Tell us about you.
Well, here's how it really all begins. It started like a lot of things in childhood. I remember being a child. I was born in India, and then we moved to America when I was pretty young. You know, that is why you're not hearing too much of an accent from me. Sometimes it comes back. I don't know why. And so when we moved originally we were up in northeast of Philadelphia. I played with all the children, every single race, background, ethnicity, and we had a great time. And when I turned 7 years old, my dad's dental practice took off, so we moved to the suburbs. That's when everything began. I was the one Indian child in a classroom full of all white kids, and so I didn't realize then that I was different, because when I would go to a recess and want to play soccer with everyone, they'd say no. I said, well, why? I can play. I can run fast. I can do everything that you guys are doing. Actually, I was faster than half the people, so I thought I thought it was pretty good. But they had to teach me that I was not the same as them. So because of that, I got bullied and picked on, and I think I had 3 strikes against me, because back then I had really big Coke bottle glasses, and I was a foreigner, and on top of that, I had like a moderate to severe growing up as well. So if you remember the King's speech, where King Henry VI, I believe, who they like affectionately called Bertie, I really enjoyed that movie, and it really told sort of that more inner story of what a person with a speech impediment goes through. It's the more internal struggle that other people don't see. For example, they thought that I was mentally retarded because of my speech impediment when I was that age. So they put me in all the lowest classes, and it took them years for them to realize, because then I started to prove to them, you know what, I got higher grades than almost everybody in my entire class. Then by the time I got to 6th grade, I had the highest grades in both math and science, not just in my classroom, but my entire grade. So then they realized their mistake, and they finally had to move me, and then finally had to fight to get into the advanced classes, as well as then I got into the gifted program as well. And I tell you all this not to brag, but to tell you that we all go through something. We all go through some sort of a struggle, and that's really where, during this journey of getting picked on and being bullied, that's when I began karate. Because back in 1984, I remember that movie, The Karate Kid, starring Daniel LaRusso, Mr. Miyagi. Everybody recalls the wax on, wax off. And I decided then that, you know what? I saw the movie, so I thought, wow, what an amazing tool to help change your life. And that's how I saw it. So I know a lot of students, when they begin a sport, they think, I'll just do it. It's an activity. It's a passing phase, something to do just to get a little fit, make some friends, have some fun. Not me. I want to be a world champion. From day one, I said, you know what? I think I can do this. And as soon as I got in there, you know what? It was really hard. I was the worst at jumping rope. I couldn't do push-ups. I hated push-ups. And a full split, oh my God, why would anybody want to do that? My God. So it took me a long time to learn all these different skills. And those different skills became strategies. And then once you learn to employ those strategies like a toolbox, you can now carry them with you throughout your life. And then later on, I became an instructor. So not only did I achieve my black belt, I also started teaching. My teacher told me, listen, Raja, if you want to be a black belt, you have to help teach class. I'm like, what? I have to teach? I didn't sign up for that. I joined karate, I joined choir, so I don't have to talk. Everybody knows my problem, right? I don't want to talk. And he said, well, it's too bad, just help out. So to his credit, he opened up a new world for me. Because had he not forced me to learn how to teach as an instructor, at that tender age, I think at that time I must have been 13, 14 years old, testing for black belt. And then I learned 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, they have no filter. They will roll your eyes, waiting for you to say something. They will turn away, they'll turn around, scratch their butt, and they will, and they will move around, and they won't stand still. And that makes my even worse. So I had to find different strategies to learn how to speak in front of an audience. And now you'll hear me throughout this talk using different things that sound, wow, he's such a polished speaker. Haha, I tricked you. What I'm doing is I'm using pauses as ways to catch my breath and to prevent a block I can feel coming so I can anticipate it. Not only that, I'm changing my speech patterns, my pitch, my speed, my tonality, because then if you've ever heard anybody sing who also has a speech impediment, you don't stutter when you sing, but you do when you talk. And what's weird is I'm fluent in 4 languages, and because I grew up speaking a Gujarati and Hindi, and then came to America, I learned English, and then I also learned Spanish in school, so I can speak in 4 languages, and then I can add a 5th. I can speak sarcasm because my son is 13 now, so I can speak sarcasm. Yeah, you want to go mow the lawn? Yeah, sure, Dad. I want to mow the lawn. So I speak sarcasm fluently as well now. And so as we're learning these different skills, you realize I used to think one of my mindset blocks was that, you know what, out of 10,000 things, there's 9,990 I can't do. That what I thought was my own self-limiting belief. And because I had to go through learning how to become a black belt, that forced me to teach, I started realizing, you know what, maybe I was wrong about that. If I was wrong about that, maybe I was wrong about other things. So I started trying out other challenging vocal exercises. I joined the choir and I was okay. But then one year in 9th grade, I tried out for the touring choir. I didn't make it. So then I tried out the year later and tried to get better, tried to sing louder, tried to learn about musical notes and pitch. And guess what? I got on the touring choir. And then my junior year, I auditioned for our district competition choir. I made it. And that's as far as I went that year. And then my senior year of high school, now this is the fun part here, I had to get braces. And on top of this, and on top of us, stutter, I now had a bite plate. So I had to talk like this for 6 months. Can you understand me? Yeah, raise your hand if you can understand me. Yeah, kinda. So I had to keep that in for 6 months. I had to do that during auditions for the district choir. Luckily, I made it. I was 18th out of 20. So I made it to the top 20, thank God. And then for regionals, I said, listen, I feel like I can do much better than this. You know, I begged my orthodontist, my parents, please take this thing out. I want to compete. Because by that time, I had gotten my black belt. I had gone to tournaments. I had started to win. And I was enjoying winning, focusing on that achievement. Because then that finally got me the respect that I never got as a child. So in order for me to get that respect in other areas, I had in academics, I was a smart guy and I worked really, really hard. I'd say I would tell people that, listen, I'm not that smart. I just outwork you. And that's generally what would happen, is that I would just outtrain other people. And so same thing happened with choir. I had track after school. And then in between those months where I didn't have track practice, I'd come home on the school bus and I would practice my music for an hour. And guess what? I didn't know how to read music either. So I had to learn where the C was. And I learned A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I learned about that. I learned what's a sharp and what's a flat. That's my musical knowledge. That's all I knew. But what I did know was that I had a very good ear. Now, some of you may have heard of Andrew Lloyd Webber. He's one of my favorite composers because in 9th grade I learned how to play Phantom of the Opera by ear. And then I got into Les Miserables, Miss Saigon, so all these other classics around that era. And I loved Broadway musicals. I really wanted to, that's one of my long-term dreams, is to, I still want to learn, I still want to sing on Broadway. So let's get back to that story about, I was singing with a bite plate, barely made it through the first round. So then for regionals, luckily the doctor said, all right, your teeth are straight now. See, they're beautiful now. And they took it out. Thank God. And you know what? It was probably one of the best things in my life, because then when I auditioned for regionals, they take only 10 from 2 of the districts. So out of the 40 that came from each of the districts, they took only the top 20. So now those 20 and 20 that combined into 40, they take only the top 10 of those. I was saying, listen, please, 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 just get in the top 20 at least so I don't get embarrassed. I didn't make the top 10. Didn't happen, sad to say. Instead, I ended up being number 1 of 40. I I was in shock. I could not believe it. And how does and you hear my voice, my voice goes up and down a lot, because like I've taken now speaker training, and I've taken Toastmasters and learned from improv and other things, and how to act as well. So how can a base 2 go from 18th out of 40th and now it's first place out of 40? Well, part of it I think was because just like Demosthenes or like Moses used to do, he used to say that like he was heavy of tongue. He would put pebbles in his mouth and he'd practice speaking, so to strengthen his jaw muscles and his tongue. I don't know if that worked or not, but having that bite plate, I think it forced me to breathe stronger and with more challenges. So I had an epiphany that day, that, you know what, it wasn't only about me achieving that first place victory, because then after like regionals, I also went first chair in state as well. And so what was ironic was in 12th grade, our choir teacher picked me and another girl to be co-presidents of the choir. And it was kind of funny, because my sister, who was 2 years behind me, told me that there was actually a lot of people who would snicker or laugh behind me, saying like, "Oh, that guy can't talk," or whatever. Then they heard me sing, and that changed their tune, didn't it? So let's fast forward a little bit. I did the same thing with karate. I went to the World Championships when I was 16, and I placed, took home 2 trophies. So I made a 2-year plan to go to the Olympics. So guess what happened? 3 months after my 18th birthday, I went to my first Olympic qualifier on the East Coast. I beat out 400 other black belts and took first place. I took 2 first places and a third. And so added up all my points, I won the overall grand championship for the entire tournament. 3 months after my 18th birthday. So I had made the Olympic team. But at that time, I was also very shy about my speaking. I didn't want to get judged. And so I talked to my parents, hey, I have this opportunity to go out to Colorado Springs, train at the Olympic Training Center for 2 years, and then compete in the 94 Winter Games in Taekwondo. Our style was called Hangsudo, which is basically the same style as Taekwondo, same kind of kicking style. And so my parents says, no, you got a scholarship to college. You're going there. You're going to go do something important, like be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, a scientist, or something, good. Because they didn't understand karate. They said, oh, you're going to be like that Bruce Lee guy? No. So as this turned into something more for me, I realized that the martial arts, the singing, the academics, it forced me to become more, because I always had to prove myself. I always felt like I always had to try twice as hard to get even half the respect that most people get just for speaking normally. And for all of you out there that are wondering, what's next? What did I do with all this? Well, even 5 years ago, I was still insecure about speaking. So I started Toastmasters, because in 2015, I was in a head-on car crash, and I smashed my head against the windshield. I had glassed my head for 6 months. See right here, there's still scars there. Lost a chunk of my hair. I glassed my head for 6 months. One eye was tracking slower than the other one for about a year. I had headaches. I couldn't sleep right. My neck, my upper shoulder, and my upper back would take turns every 2 weeks going into spasms because I had peripheral nerve compression in C4, 5, 6, and 7. And so to this day, if I look all the way up, my neck is still a little bit tight. It'll start to cramp up. So when we talk about the challenges that a lot of us have, sometimes you say, oh, it must be nice. He's rich. He's good looking. He's this. I'm like, no, what are you talking about? You know, if people say that I'm an overnight success, sure, that it only took me 6 years to become an overnight success, right? And my Toastmasters journey was really rough as well because once again, I started to think, all right, how can I achieve something in this as a person with this stutter, and how am I going to be able to speak fluently in front of this? Well, I tried out my first speech competition a couple years ago. Didn't work. I went over the time because I got stuck in too many blocks, so I went over the time limit and I got disqualified. And you know what I said to that? Damn, my fault. I know what to do next year. That's it. Didn't blame anybody because Viktor Frankl, who wrote the book As a Man Thinketh, he was a survivor of the Holocaust camp, and so in order for him to survive through that for over 2 years, he had to compartmentalize his mind. And one of the amazing quotes that came out of that was that you can't control what other people do to you. You can only control your perception of what happened to you. So when I was up there speaking, and even as I'm speaking now, I'm using so many different strategies and techniques to speak fluently. And sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not. But I don't care because I know that I'm providing wonderful content for you, and we're having fun, and I'm telling jokes, and we're laughing and having a great time together. So not only is it educational, it's also entertaining. So I call it edutainment, right? Or as I say at work all the time, nonstop fun. We're just having some nonstop fun, that's all. So as I move forward now, in the past year, I've been a cancer scientist now for 25 plus years. I've been a martial artist for 38 years. I will have to talk to Ritu about this, but I was in my first martial arts film back in 2018 called The Martialist, and that was super successful. We're actually filming the sequel now, and now there's a martial arts comic book series based off the movie. So we just published the third one of that, and this has all started after my car accident. I started my own personal development journey. I read so many books, got mastermind, started watching TED Talks, started watching Simon Sinek, Dean Graziosi, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy. There's so many other great mentors out there. Jim Rohn. One of my favorite Jim Rohn quotes is that, don't wish that your obstacles were easier. Wish that you were better. And so that's all I focus on, is that because through personal development, your obstacles stay the same. And as you grow in life, your obstacles only get more challenging. They never get easier. But what you can do is that you can grow through personal growth and development. And for any of you out there that owns a business growth is personal growth. So don't knock that. What you're actually doing when you're learning, 90% of learning how to run the business is personal growth, because you have to learn communication skills. Wouldn't it help to understand what your employee means when they talk to you, so you're speaking the same language? Wouldn't it help if you're on a sales team, you know how to talk to a client so that you can promote customer buy-in, and you can create long-term loyalty? Don't you think that's important? So these are all things that I teach now in my own academy. So now when I talk about this, I talk about a Victory Mindset Academy. I talk about changing the mind shift, that mindset, because I've seen over almost 4 decades of teaching karate now, and like different martial arts. I was head instructor of my teacher's school for 25 years. And then I opened up my own school for 7 years, and I loved it. And that car accident, unfortunately, was what took me out. So I finally had to close my karate school a few years ago. So what I do in the meantime, I created an online coaching academy so I can impact more people, because impact precedes income. Any of you that are chasing the almighty dollar or the pound or the rupee or any other currency, you got the cart before the horse. You need to study what the greats do. They create impact first. And only then, when you make a change, when you impact someone, when you solve a problem, money will flow afterwards. Don't chase the money, right? Chase the impact. And for those of you that are still listening and enjoying, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate all of you. You get the victory bell for being amazing, because you don't let any coach or any teacher or anybody ever tell you, oh, you're wrong, you're broken, you're something else. Hell with that. There's nothing wrong with you. You are amazing, and you can only improve from there. So this is Coach Raja. Don't fake it till you make it. Instead, believe it and become it.
Yay! Oh, wonderful, Raja. Absolutely wonderful. And you actually host a series of summits. So do put your links in the chat as well.
Certainly. And
Awesome.
for those of you, that are interested in being a speaker on my next summit, there's a speaker link and there's an audience link as an attendee. So the attendee is free, and speakers, if you want to be part of it, just reach out to me, just sign up through there, and we'll talk some more.
Awesome.
Thank
you, Raja. So let me just spotlight Nikki and spotlight myself. How fantastic. So now it gives me great pleasure to continue with our second speaker for the evening, who is Nikki Sekon. And Nikki is a motivational speaker who shares the challenges she faced as a first-generation Indian girl growing up and born in a conformed society. The unacknowledged anxieties and worries this brought, and how through personal development she was able to heal her past, to not only believe and manifest her dreams, but inspire others to do the same. Nikki is passionate about breaking down the conditioning society places on us all, the mental baggage we carry, and talks about how we can reaffirm and create the life we all desire. Nikki is also a Reiki healer, Drew yoga teacher, and director of a successful lifestyle business. She has 2 daughters and a wonderful marriage, and lives a life of gratitude. She loves giving back to others by making yoga accessible to all, and spends a lot of time volunteering. How beautiful. Nikki, I yield the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Carol. It's such a pleasure to be here with all these incredible speakers. And, I can't thank Carol and Ritu enough for giving us this space to share. And thank you all for coming along to join us. So Carol already gave you an introduction of my life. A lifestyle business, really. Essentially, we work part-time, but we have a full-time income. And what this allows me to do personally is to offer my healing work on the side. And I love just giving back and doing as much as I can on a voluntary basis and trying to help others. And it fulfills me so much. And, the company that we have grown, me and my colleagues, we're so blessed to work with such lovely people, the way we run our business, the way we deliver our services. We all just love working together, and we're so blessed to have that kind of an environment, and we know that we are so different, and it just makes us so proud. And then, I've got an incredible relationship with all the people in my life. I have an incredible marriage. I have such happiness and joy in my home. But, when I was younger, I would never, ever have imagined that I'd be living the life that I am. I never thought I'd be teaching yoga or Reiki alongside running this lovely business with all these incredible people. And I've just been so blessed to have had so many of the experiences, and they surpassed any ideas that society taught me what a happy life would look like. And I'm just so grateful for that. And I want to share really some of the new values that, you know, I live with, that in all, and that's why I live the life that I do. I mean, I had an incredible childhood. It was filled with a lot of fun and lovely memories, and I grew up being a really good Indian daughter, and like other Indian girls, you know, I was taught to believe that I needed to learn to become a good Indian wife, and eventually I needed to be a good Indian daughter-in-law, and nothing else was really certain for Asian daughters apart from the solid fact that we needed to be married by a certain ripe age. And, you know, males had that pressure too. So many people got married so early, often for wrong reasons, and it's because of the expectations that society had from them. And at the time, you know, when I looked around at married couples, the men generally got the better end of the deal, you know, yet it's really weird. We still looked forward to getting married, you know, whether it's because of Bollywood or, you know, we have these ideals, you know, we saw getting married as an escape to go and live this life of promised freedom, when actually, if we opened our eyes, we would have seen that we'd be living something so far from what we would thought we would. And I know for many people it still remains the same today. There's a humongous pressure on everyone to live this perfect life, to be in this perfect relationship, to look in a perfect way, to be married by a perfect age, to have a perfect job and a perfect family, be a perfect mother. And life just isn't as simple as that. And I was quite fortunate, actually. I didn't meet my husband into my 30s. So although when I was younger, I was like, I'd wish this guy would come along, you know, and we ended up having a bit more life experience. And the relationship we have is really incredible, but it isn't unique just to us. And we can all be happier with so many areas of our life. But there is an effort where we've instilled positive habits in place of negative ones. We've been willing to look at ourselves critically. We've been willing to change ourselves, for each other, and for the family, because ultimately we know the life that we want, what kind of life we want to live. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the negative habits we pick up. And I think there's 3 that stick out for me. I mean, the first one is, we love a good moan. I mean, us British people, I moan every day about this damn weather. Like, it has been horrible. How on earth are we in May and it's still raining? Like, we just love a really good moan, and it just comes so easily to us. But, you know, the weather, I mean, come on, we all need to moan about the weather. But in terms of all other aspects of our life, we get so accustomed to moaning about what's wrong. We get so accustomed to talking about our problems. And the reason why is because when we share our problems, we get sympathy, and it evokes a nice feeling of comfort. But then what the universe does is the universe says, hey, Nikki likes this feeling, so I'm going to deliver more problems to her, so she has more to moan about, so she gets more comfort, and then she feels better afterwards. And then we have the second element of women especially, but, you know, you men too, but women especially, we have the patience of a saint, as they say. But when you piss us off, we will let you know about it. We will keep tallying up that score. Oh, you know, he said this and he did that, and oh, wait till just you wait. And we won't miss that opportunity. We will let you know about it. And then the third thing is, Bollywood has a lot to blame. You know, we love the life, a bit of drama, a little bit of suspense. You know, we're so good at playing the silent game. You know, we might bang a few doors or walk around huffing, you know, just so someone knows that we are pissed off. But we're not going to tell them why, because that would just be too easy. You know, if someone wants to know why we're upset, then of course they have to ask us, because they know we're upset. You know, everyone on this Zoom call, we're all mind readers. You know, you would know that Nikki's pissed off today, wouldn't you? And so you would ask me. But for some reason, we overcomplicate things. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good to have a moan sometimes, and we need to all let off steam, and it's important to express yourself and not bottle it up. However, it is about the delivery. For some reason, we let so much slide, and of course, we shouldn't sweat the small stuff, but the big stuff, we let it get to that boiling stage before we can express why we're upset. But when we get to that boiling stage and when we're angry, so much adrenaline kicks in, and that feeling takes over any capacity that we have of expressing why we're hurt, because ultimately we're not pissed off. That anger masks a pain that is evoked in us. And when we come from a place of anger, often we raise our voice to the person who upset us, ends up feeling kind of like they're being attacked. But when someone feels attacked, they become defensive. We do. And so they physically can't hear us, but yet we continue and continue in this cycle, expecting a different result. But guys, there's no blame here. No one taught us, no one taught our parents, and no one taught their parents. And no one, we've all done the best that we absolutely can. And we all know life can be really, really tough sometimes. No one consciously thinks, oh, yeah, I'm going to get angry right now. I'm going to get pissed off. Oh, yeah, I'm really liking this adrenaline. Ooh, this is a good feeling. It's just so easy to get into a rut. And we can become so consumed by negatives, the news, everything out there. There's so much going on in the world that can really depress us, and we're left with no energy for ourselves. And we can all go through rough patches, but sometimes these rough patches can go on for so long, it just feels like they're going to last forever. And that's why making time for something like today is really important. Seeking out more of this, having the opportunity to learn from other people's experiences, it's really helped me grow so much. And it gives us an opportunity to really kind of think of where we're at and where we want to go. I mean, how many of you remember the last time you told yourself or your loved ones, what do you love about each other? What do you appreciate about each other? Our friends will often say to me that me and Devinda, we've got a great marriage and we make a great couple. And yeah, we do, but it's because we have instilled positive habits. I mean, the greatest thing about our marriage is we simply can't take each other for granted, because we literally tell each other all the things we appreciate about the other person. We acknowledge how we've supported each other. And to be honest, I very plainly ask my husband for support, the exact support that I need, because I understand my husband isn't a mind reader. And actually often, unless I check in with myself and I ask myself, why am I feeling so upset? I don't know why sometimes I feel upset. And if I don't check in with myself, how on earth am I expecting my husband to know? And I will say to him verbally, do you know what, I just feel really upset right now, or I'm really exhausted. I just need to rest. I just need a hug. And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to literally spell it out, because actually we're more likely to get the response that we really need. And when you vocalize what you appreciate about each other and what you're grateful for, of course, the universe amplifies your blessings. And the same is true when we continuously vocalize what makes us unhappy. And we all know this. We all know about the law of attraction. Whatever emotion and words we put out into the universe, it amplifies, and we call even more of that to ourselves. But there's also a science behind it. If we told a person how much we loved them, exactly what we loved about them, all the wonderful qualities they have, that we get it, someone tells us that it's a chemical reaction. When we praise, we release our happy hormones, dopamines and endorphins, and we just feel so good about making someone happy. And likewise, we want to do more of that. So there's nothing wrong with telling each other what you love and appreciate about. And actually, everything is so right about it, and we need to do more of that. But this also falls into our other relationships. I'm sure we can all relate that there's probably people that have fallen away from our lives, people we thought would be our ride or die, they would always be with us through everything in life. And we know that people enter our lives sometimes for a reason, a season, and a lifetime, and that will always be true. However, there's something about communication that we need to be better at. We can accept the faults of our partners because sometimes we're married to them, or we love them, or we'll just accept their faults. But a lifelong friend or a relative, if they piss us off that one time, we're ready to just cut them, or they're ready to just cut us. And a situation occurs where ultimately one person gets really upset with another one, and in that moment of being hurt, all the many, many dark times you've gone through together, all the things where you've laughed, you've cried, you've smiled, all the memories you've shared are overtaken by this feeling of getting upset. Our ego, our pain, our fear overtakes our love for another. I mean, that doesn't mean you keep shitty people in your life, by the way. It doesn't mean you don't walk away when a relationship has served its purpose, but it just says something about, why can't we just be better communicators? Why not just speak our truth from a love-centered place so that we can walk away without carrying that pain with us for the rest of our lives? And the most important person to have that communication with, of course, from a love-centered place, is surely ourselves. We've grown older thinking about everybody else's needs and everybody else's happiness. But when was the last time you asked yourself, what does happiness look like for you? When did I become my very last priority? Of course, you can't just give up your responsibility. You can't just not feed the kids or not go to work or pay your bills, but we do make it so hard for ourselves. There is a lot about it. Recently, the weather has played an impact. As you can know, I'm quite triggered by the weather at the moment, guys. And, planetary alignments and just the mayhem of life and being so busy for so long recently really caught up with me. And putting myself last has exhausted me. Yet actually, I'm someone who, over the years, has been very good at making time for myself. But I know a lot of spiritual people who recently have felt really overwhelmed. And someone like me, who can preach, I've also really struggled. And I felt like recently I was having a breakdown. I cried, I had all this anxiety that overtook all the knowledge that I had of what I knew I needed to do. And I could literally hear my angels. I could hear my conscience, screaming at me, Nikki, take care of me. Go meditate, go do your yoga, get up, listen, what is it you need? And it shouts at you, stop ignoring me. And instead I'll sit there and I'll scroll on my phone instead of just going and resting or whatever it is. And so recently one of my best friends and I have been meditating together, and it's just been so beautiful. And we've been discussing about, why do we actually make it so hard for ourselves when we know what we need to do? Ultimately, we know when a feeling is wearing us down so much it's not fulfilling us anymore. We know we need to change something, but we find it impossible to take that action. Why is it so comforting to sit in our pain or in darkness than actually taking some action to step into the light, And if we viewed it as a matter of life or death, because would we not then take action? Because if we don't take action, our pain does affect us physically and mentally. It consumes our happiness. And how much time have we already wasted? We all know life is short. And so are you consciously willing to waste more of it? And so it's really important that we make space. And even more important than that is that when we finish up today, you promise yourself. There's no need, it's not about promising anyone else. You owe it to yourself to sit down and evaluate, how has sticking with the same habits served you? If you carry on with the same habits, what does your life look like in 10 years' time? What is it going to take for me to take better care of me? And what actually will happen to me if I don't? Because it's true, if we don't, something is bound to happen. And then be honest with yourself. What's more important also is to sit there and think, actually, what does happiness look like for me as an individual? What life do I desire for myself? And how would it feel to live that life? What would it mean to you to live the rest of your life being the happiest you possibly could? And what are you willing to do to have this life? Because you honestly, truly, and utterly deserve it. You need to know what your desires are so you can focus and manifest those instead of your fears. Take steps to fall in love with yourself, to connect with the universe. You're all so beautiful, every single one of you. Your soul has come through lifetimes. You've been through so much. You're so strong and you're so special. Connect with your wisdom. Love yourself so much unconditionally. Accept yourself for the journey you've been on, and know and have faith in yourself for the journey ahead, and be excited about it. You are so strong and you are so special. And, you know, step up for you, because you deserve the life that you were born to live. Don't let the pain of your past override accessing all the peace and happiness you deserve to feel and live with. Whatever self-care looks like for you, meditation, reading, getting out in nature, whatever it is, make sure you make that space and time for you. Write out a list of all the qualities you love about yourself, and then promise yourself you're going to take time out to do the things that instill that feeling of love in your heart. And, you know, when I pray, there's three things that I ask for three things that I ask for every time. And it's peace in my heart, and it's peace in my home, and it's the opportunity to serve. And it's honestly such a pleasure to speak with you all today. And I send so much love to you all. And I really hope you claim the life you deserve. I hope and pray that, you know, all your desires come true. And I know if you just focus on them, they honestly will. And write them all out. Writing them out will help the universe, you know, create those for you. Please take the time to do it, because you just can't afford not to. Life is sacred. We don't know if we get this journey again. And so it's really important you make the most of it. So when we do finish, I will post a few things in the chat. But, you know, get a piece of paper. Don't just forget about it. Write out, how has sticking with the same habits served me? If I carry on with the same habits, what will my life look like in 10 years? And how will that feel? What will it take for me to take better care of me? And what will happen? Worst case scenario, what will happen if I don't? What happens if we stick with the same old actions and the same old passions? And then be honest. With a loving heart, ask yourself, what does my happiness look like for me as an individual? What do I desire for my life? And how will it feel to live this life? And what am I willing to do to have this life? Because I truly, truly deserve it. And there's just a little affirmation that I'll post as well. You know, I love myself, and I hope you can repeat it and feel it in your hearts as well. But I love myself. I am worthy of the life that I desire. I am happiness. I deserve happiness, and I have happiness in all areas of my life. Thank you.
Awesome, Nikki. Awesome. And happiness is an inside-out job, not through external circumstances at that particular time that makes you happy. So yes, there was a comment in the chat from Jazz. Jazz, I hope you can stay till the end so you can bring it up afterwards when we open up the floor for Q&A. Awesome. Brilliant. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right. So now, as we move on, JIM SWAN, James Jim Swan. The most formal title. So, Jim. Who is Jim Swan? Well, he is a business turnaround coach, or as a business turnaround coach, Jim uses principles of mental fitness and profit acceleration to help business owners to emotionally thrive and financially prosper. As a survivor of both success and failure, Jim brings years of business experiences, personal values, and a belief in the power of transformative energy into his laser-focused professional objective, coaching business owners to emotional and financial abundance. Jim, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Carol. Most appreciate the introduction. And thank you so much for the invitation to be here today. What an amazing group to be part of. Raja, Nikki, and Omu are very honored to share the platform with you. My name is Jim. You can know me as Jim. Years ago, the business was put in my birth name, which was James, and it ends up being confusing because anyone who's ever met me knows me as Jim. So let it be Jim. I'm a business development coach, which means I work with businesses to help them grow their revenues and their profits. But most importantly, we try to make sure that their hearts and their lives are aligned with a purpose that is unique to them, so that there's harmony in all areas of their life. I want to share with you three things today. One, a short story about how I became who I am today, how I became a business development coach. I have a little gift that I'd like to share with each of you, something from me to you that might help support you in your journey, particularly if you're a business owner. And then I'd like to show you some tools, or a specific tool that might help you grow your profits, maybe even double your profits in the coming 12 months. And if you're a business owner, that can't be too bad of a thing. So let's dive right in. It's been said that a great story doesn't really get going until something goes terribly wrong. And you can see that in your family vacations. It's just a vacation, but when the flight gets canceled or the car breaks down or the boat sinks, suddenly you've got a story that you can tell over and over and over again. Two young people meet, they fall in love. It's a love story. How nice, but not terribly memorable. Not really until something someone says gets misunderstood, or a secret is revealed, or a problem arises in their communication, and suddenly you've got a story. You might start a novel and it's just words on a page until somebody dies or somebody goes missing or something blows up. And then suddenly you've got a story that you're interested in. So my story, my turnaround story, it started on a rooftop overlooking the Sunset Boulevard in Los Angeles, California. It was about 3 a.m, and I had climbed up to the top of the highest parapet, and I was seated with my feet dangling over the edge. And I had mapped out what the next step was going to be, and it was going to be my last. The night was very quiet. I could hear the traffic from Sunset Boulevard far below. And all of a sudden, I heard the barking of a dog behind me. And unbeknownst to me, my 2 dogs, my little Yorkshire Terriers, had followed me up to the rooftop that morning and were barking. And their presence was enough to distract me from the mission that I had set out on. And I climbed down off that parapet, and my story really began. You see, I had spent years building a business, 17 years total, invested in my professional life at that time. We had just recently become recognized internationally. Opportunities were opening up for us around the globe. We had corporate sponsors and underwriters. Excuse me. I had just flown back from Paris, where we had signed a deal that was going to bring me to Europe 4 times a year, and was going to bring in hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue for us every quarter. In the coming year, I was poised to make more money than I had ever made in my entire life. And the future seemed like it was mine for the taking. Everything I had worked hard for my entire life was getting ready to come to pass. It was actually coming to pass. And then one morning, after returning from Europe, my phone rang. It was my agent in New York, and I answered the phone, and everything changed. A business mistake that I had made a number of years prior to this had been featured in a news story on a regional news station here in the United States the previous night. It was a mistake that I had rectified, I had owned up to, I had made restitution for, but for some reason it made its way into what they thought was a story that was important to tell And they painted me in about as negative a light as possible. And by the end of that day, everything was gone. Every sponsor that had underwritten me was gone. My agent severed all ties with me. People that I had done business with for 20 years stopped taking my calls. And I had been evidently canceled before canceling was a thing. Who knew? Who knew? But it's not an understatement to say that every penny that I had was wrapped up in that business. And at that moment, I owed money to my vendors. I owed money to my staff. I had suppliers that I had to pay. And with it all going away, it's no exaggeration to say that I lost everything. And I became persona non grata in an industry that I had spent over 20 years building strong relationships in. And I was convinced that my life had come to an end. So there wasn't really any reason for me to go on, except for those Yorkies. And they still hold a pretty special place in my heart, even though neither of them are with me anymore. The next few years were just a blur of tears and regrets. I drank too much. I tried to do anything I could think of to numb the pain that I was feeling. At a point, I was sleeping on a friend's sofa, working hard, trying to figure out a way to cobble together some income so that I could pay my bills and maybe pay people back that I owed money to. Eventually, I connected some dots and realized that I had some writing talent and I had some experience in marketing, and I found some opportunities doing that. And I began slowly to be able to pay my bills and then to pay people back. And the other interesting thing that sort of started to happen at that point was that I began to heal a little bit. I gave myself space to forgive myself for the mistake that I had made. Some people forgave me for the mistake that I had made and reached out. And despite the negative reporting, they knew who I was, and they said, you know, we're gonna see beyond that, and here's my hand, and let's continue in our relationship. Made the world of difference for me. But the other thing that I began to deal with was this question of, okay, well, now what am I going to do with the rest of my life? What am I going to do when I grow up? And at that moment, through an unexpected gift of a coaching session that a friend had given to me, I experienced the transformative power of coaching. Now, it wasn't a magic pill, it wasn't a magic wand, it didn't change things immediately, but it did allow me to connect with hope. And for the first time in a number of years, I believed that my life could mean something. So a secret that I want to share with you that I've learned in this process is that no matter how big or how small, whether it's the donut you ate this morning and fell off your diet, or whether it's the fight that you had with your spouse, or the divorce that you're going through, or the business that is being challenged by not enough income, not enough revenue, there is life after failure, and there's always hope. So where that left me was with this clear understanding as I looked around the world that there was a lot of need out there. You don't have to look very far to see the stress and the difficulties that people face in our world today. And when you look really a little bit closer and you start looking at some of the research, there were interesting little bits that I found, like the idea that while marriages break up every day, that's not news, but it was news to me that they do so more often over stress around money issues than over the lack of love in the relationship. As I had learned far too well, a business setback and a failure can inflict pain and can wreak havoc and destruction on a life, on a family, and in some ways extending out even to the community. Addiction, depression, anxiety, deep pain, all of these things can happen when things go wrong in a business. So let me be clear. Money or a successful business isn't going to cure anything. I'll be really clear about that. But a solid business producing consistent profits for the owner and for the employees can offer a solid foundation that relationships can thrive in and can grow in, that families can be nurtured in, that communities can experience rebirth from, and that people can find meaningful connections with the people around them. So I put two and two together and I realized, if I become a coach, I could help business owners who are just like me move through these challenges, making more money in their business, turning their business around, fixing their marriages, working on their relationships with their kids. Those are all things that are part of my big why, that are part of why I do the work that I do today. So with that said, if you want to pick up a little copy of a free gift that I have for everyone here today, it's a little business book called The Business Turnaround Strategy. It's just 12 simple strategies that I use with my clients to help them begin to turn their business around and become more profitable, and begin to build that foundation of consistent wealth in their life that allows them to build more solid relationships with their spouse, their families, and their communities. So a little update from me. I recently bought a home, something I didn't think I would ever be able to do again in my life. I bought an antique home on the coast of Maine here in the United States, which is where I'm coming to you from, the library here. It was built over 200 years ago. And while it's got lots of projects that I need to get done, it's a beautiful place that I get to call home. And it's from here that I get to work with my clients who are around the world. Together we find revenue in their businesses, we grow their profits, and we help them build lives of greater meaning and greater purpose. So here's a question that I ask business owners wherever I meet them. How would greater profits in your business impact your life this year? Would it mean less stress, more sleep at nights, more money to do things that you and your family want to do, a chance to invest in your personal future, a chance to invest in the future of the business, travel, philanthropy, education, all of those things, any of those things? So if you could choose between having $1 million deposited in your bank right now, or have 1 penny deposited in that bank account, and then have that penny double every day for the next 30 days, which would you choose? Now, if you picked the doubling penny, I would say you chose wisely, because if you double a penny every day for the next 30 days, you'll end up with just under $5.4 million. Sounds kind of good, doesn't it? That's the power of compounding. Stacking small increases consistently upon each other for powerful results. You might have heard of something called the 80-20 rule. Anybody? Sound familiar? There was an Italian economist back in 1897. His name was Pareto, I believe it was Vilfredo Pareto. He discovered this principle. He discovered it from his observations that 80% of the land in England, and then in every subsequent country that he did the research on, was owned by 20% of the population. Who knew? As it turns out, in almost every situation that we find ourselves in, business, volunteer work, community service, wherever we go, 80% of the work gets done by 20% of the input, 20% of the people, 20% of the volunteers, 20% of the employees. In our businesses, 80% of our revenue is generated by 20% of our resources. So having said that, I am going to share my screen real quickly. Let's see, there we go. And can you see that profit acceleration software? This is where I'm going to share. We're going to make up a business. We're going to pretend that we have a business. This is a software that I use when I work with my business owners, trying to find in their businesses. This is without spending any additional money, any additional money on marketing or advertising. This is just looking inside the business to find ways that we can add additional revenue. So if we have our business, pick the name, pick whatever you'd like to call it. We're working in US dollars because that's the way my slow brain is most familiar with. So we're going to stick with that today. But let's just say we had annual revenue of $100,000. And using national average figures, our gross profit margin was 50%. And if our net profit margin was 10%, we scroll all the way down to the bottom here. This is what that looks like. Here's our current revenue, $100,000. And at the end of the year, with our net profit being at 10%, that leaves us as a business owner with $10,000 in profit. Now, what would you say to me if I told you that by looking at these 12 categories, different strategies within the business. I'm going to list them off really quickly, and I could spend a lot of time talking about each one, and I want to be respectful of our time today, so I'm not going to do that. But we could cut costs. We could focus on our market dominating position. What is it that makes you unique from everyone else who is your competition in the marketplace? What is your compelling offer? What offer do you put on the table that your potential customers literally cannot say no to? I can tell you what mine is. I guarantee my clients that if they pay me a fee to work with them for a month, that within those 30 days, I will return back to them a minimum of twice the amount that they've invested in my fee in found annual revenues. And if I don't do that, I return the fee to them and I work for them free for that month. Not a bad deal, huh? If you're the customer. It's a pretty good deal for me too, because I'm pretty confident in what I can produce. But let's go on. I'm going to get through this list really quickly. We could increase our prices. It's pretty scary for most business owners, but we could do that. We could upsell and cross-sell. We could figure out ways to add additional services to what we're offering to our existing clients. We could bundle. We could figure out things that we could bundle into our service package that makes us unique and thus allow us to offer ask more money for the package. We could downsell. We could figure out ways, rather than losing a client, ways of downselling them to a smaller package, to a different configuration of our services at a lesser price point, begin the relationship with them at that lesser price point, and then grow into a more profitable relationship with them. We could add additional products and services. We could create a thing called a drip campaign. We won't go into that right now, but it's a very, very powerful tool to use to grow relationships that then convert into paying clients. We could create alliances or joint venture projects with other businesses who are targeting the same type of client that we're targeting. We could just come up with more leads. Just let it be a numbers game. You know, if I'm making 100,000 working with 10 clients, what would happen if I worked with 20? And then digital marketing. Many businesses need to take a second look at what their digital presence looks like and can reinforce that, strengthen that. If we just move the dial a little bit in each one of these categories, how much do you think we would have to move the dial to double our profits in the coming year? What would you say if I told you it would only take 1.4% change in each category, which in cutting costs, we'd only have to cut $1,200 out of our annual spend. Market dominating position, it would just mean growing that position by $700. And you begin to see these are relatively small amounts, and yet look at what happens down here at the bottom of the page. Current profits, projected profits following these small changes, our profits have doubled. Pretty amazing, huh? Now, you might say, well, Jim, I don't have time to dive into 12 different strategies. And I just looked at my time and I realized my time is up. So I'm going to have to cut myself off here a little bit. I don't want to infringe on anybody else's time. I'll leave it to suffice it to say that we could go in and we could just pick 3 or 4 of these strategies and move the dial by 3 or 4%, and we would come up with the same result. It's a powerful tool, and it's one that I'm excited to get to share with my clients. If you're interested in learning more, I'd be happy to talk with you about it. If you'd like to pick up my a free digital copy of my book, just drop your email in the chat and I will send you out a note with a link to the book with my compliments. Thank you so much for listening today. I'm going to unshare the screen.
Ah,
Carol,
Jim, thank you. Thank you. Incredible. And thank you for sharing, at the beginning, what you were going through. And look where you are now. Failing forward. Failure is part of life. Yeah, but we need to learn from them. So, and what I can say, please avail yourselves of the links that are being put in the chat by our speakers. All right. So now, bear with me. At last. So now we come to our final speaker of the evening, who is Omu Obelor. And I just want to say what an incredible evening we've had so far, learning from the journeys of our 3 speakers that have gone before. And Omu, let me introduce you to our guests. So, Omu is a qualified engineer who veered into the entrepreneurial world after a brief stint in the corporate world, working in a multinational oil company. Out of her passion for growth and personal development, she joined the John Maxwell team in 2011 as a founding member. While at this, she certified as an event planner. Omu invested in her personal growth for years and went on to join Business Network International, we all know BNI, the world's largest referral organization, in 2012. In BNI, she received additional training which further equipped her to serve better and has since risen to the position of national trainer and executive director in Nigeria. During the Great Pause in 2020, we all know what that was, she ran free masterminds and trainings to empower and encourage others through trying times. She also worked with Paul Martinelli, founder of the Empowered Living team and acclaimed speaker, trainer and coach. She has had the opportunity to learn from and be mentored by the best in her industry. This includes the amazing Les Brown, Paul Martinelli, John Maxwell, to name but a few. Omu, I yield the floor to you, my dear. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. And I'm so excited to be here. I feel like I've heard everything that I needed to hear for the evening. The speakers before me have been totally amazing, and I'm wondering what I'm going to have to say. But I'm just going to share my journey, which has been a very interesting one, I must say. And while sharing my journey, I'll try to point out lessons learned and how I got to this point where I say to people that I'm living my best life. So I'm the last child and the second to the last grandchild, the last child in a family of 5, and the second to the last grandchild in a huge extended family that happens to be very close. So being the last grandchild for a very long time is like being the last child, because I grew up with cousins that were like siblings. And when I think back now, I didn't think I was a spoiled child, but when I think back now, I was an absolutely spoiled and overindulged child. I thank God I came out successful. So I studied engineering, and after I stopped working at the multinational company because I just realized I wasn't a conformist. I didn't want to be told when to go to bed and when to wake up, and I could decide to work for 24 hours, but I just didn't want to be saddled with going to work at a particular time and closing at a particular time. And when I had my son, that was the perfect excuse. I said I wanted to be home for my kid. And so I resigned. But I like traveling. I absolutely love traveling. And I love planning events. So I decided to certify as an event planner. Whilst planning events, I joined an association of bridal consultants, simply because I had said to myself that I wanted to do events outside of Nigeria. I just felt, listen, why would I, as a Nigerian, I was lucky to be well-traveled. Why would I, as a Nigerian, always invite people to do stuff and they don't invite me to do stuff? So I said, well, I was going to do destination events and I would be in Nigeria and work globally. And that saw me to joining the Association of Bridal Consultants, which has its headquarters in America. And I became a sandals and beaches specialist. So I was always in the air. I had a little child, so I would always break my trips into short trips. So I traveled frequently, but didn't stay out for too long. Now, in all of this, I actually am very introverted. I'm a serious introvert. I am extremely shy. I know you won't believe that, but I'm actually extremely shy. So that actually affected my business. It was okay with the international jobs because a lot of it was online, and I'm talking about 15, 20 years ago. So it was okay, and I was quite okay with that. And I didn't know I didn't know then what I know now. I had asked, I'm a Christian, so I had prayed to walk outside the country. Some people would want to say I had manifested it. I had spoken it into the universe. Whatever it was, that was what I wanted. And I was attracting that. At some point, I started second guessing myself, and I felt, no one knows me in Nigeria. How can I be an event planner and no one knows me in Nigeria? And then I started wanting to do events in Nigeria. I used to, but I wanted to do a lot more. And that was the beginning of a downward spiral. Luckily, I caught myself because I started asking myself, what's going wrong? What's going wrong? And something popped in my head and said, you asked for something, you got it. And then somewhere along the line, you derail. What do you expect? And my brain wasn't quite structured for that sort of business. Now, while all this is going on, I also knew that to get to the point where I wanted to be, I needed to network. And in my mind's eye at the time, networking, you needed to go for events and you needed to be friendly. I wasn't going to go for events. I mean, at that point, people had even stopped inviting me because they just assumed I would attend anyway. And so BNI came to Nigeria, and I thought, oh, okay, so this is a structured network. I just attend meetings. get my referrals. I don't need to mix with anyone. I don't need to. And I joined. Little did I know that networking was about building relationships. I always joke that anyone who knows the BNI structure knows that you have to stand up each week, and present your business in 60 seconds or 30 seconds, depending on the size of the chapter. And I crack a joke that if I had known I was going to do that, I wouldn't have joined. So that started my journey in BNI. Looking back at it now, it actually helped me because it helped boost my confidence in public speaking. And then I went on to become the trainer. At this point, I must point out that I had decided to myself, you know what, I'll trust the process, whatever it was. I had joined the John Maxwell team. And also when I joined the John Maxwell team, I had no intentions of being a coach. I had no intentions of being a trainer. I had no intentions of being a speaker. I joined because I wanted to develop myself. And this was in 2011. I mean, there was no Zoom. I doubt if there was Skype. There was barely Skype. So we used the free conference thing. The internet was still the dial-in one or the one that you plug into your system. So it was really slow and crappy. But somehow, I don't know how I did it, but we did it. And months turned in 2 years, and I just kept putting in the work. And when I was reading the first John Maxwell book that I actually trained on, now I refuse to acknowledge the fact that I was a speaker, trainer, or coach. But at every opportunity I had, I would train people, as it were. So the first book I worked with was the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth. And, I learned from it that first, trust the process. Second, you never really can predict how anything is going to end. So you just start. And now I say to my clients, I said, if I was going to get on a plane to London, I don't know whether it's cold, hot, raining, dark. I don't know if it's bumpy. I don't know what it is. I can't see London. I can only see a certain distance just in front of me. And I'm just trusting the pilot, trusting the airline, and trusting myself that I'm going to get to London after 6 hours. And you just keep going. So we just pick and choose what works. When it comes to our personal development or our business and all that, personally, I virtually want to be sure that it's going to work. I want to see the end. I want to know exactly how much I'm making, or I want to be sure I'm going to get clients. I want to be, I don't put in that same mentality into those things. And so a few years down the line, I decided I was going to start speaking, coaching, and training. Now, I forgot to add that in between, I certified as a lifestyle and wellness coach. I did a training on juice therapy. I did every training. I'm a neuroencoding specialist. I did a brain health certification with Dr. Amen. And while all that helps me now in working with my clients, I'm very quick to say that at the time I was doing those trainings, I did them for the wrong reasons. So what had happened? I was a child that was indulged. I never knew hardship. I thought I did, but when I think back, I never knew hardship. So even when I decided to start speaking and they talk about signature talk, I listen to so many people, I attend so many events, and I hear these fantastic speeches of things that they've been through and, like amazing stories of success. So every day I was looking for something that had gone wrong in my life that I could turn around as a story, as a success story. And I couldn't come up with anyone. And, am I going to turn a story like, oh, your your parents refused to buy you chocolate when you wanted it. That wasn't a story. I didn't have stories of no school or, like real, I want to use the word nice, but they're nice because they've ended well. But I didn't have any story that seemed dramatic. And one day I was praying about it and I was like, God, if you don't want me to speak, tell me, because I can't come up with a signature speech. And something said to me, okay, so do you want to lie or do you want to manufacture things that didn't happen simply because you wanted a signature speech? And the fact that you did not have any challenging times that amounts to a story, does it mean that there's nothing to learn from your own story? And that was an aha moment for me. And I sat down and I started looking at my journey. And that was when I discovered that for the longest time, yes, I was shy. Yes, I was introverted. But in all of that, somewhere in my head, I lacked confidence. And because of the way that I was raised with so much attention, I still wanted that attention and I kept seeking validation. And what that had done was I kept doing courses. So I felt, oh, I needed one more course to prove a point. Oh, I needed one more course to be this. Oh, I needed one more certification to do that. Oh, I needed one more. Now I seem like, oh, that coach that has this certification and that certification, oh, she's experienced, she's done emotional intelligence. And trust me, it's fantastic. It's helping me serve my clients. But I always say to them that I know now to ask myself the reason why I am taking any certification. Is it because I honestly need it? Or is it because I think that people would accept me more because I have that one more certification, not trusting my judgment? And so I started that work. I came up with my signature speech and I came up with this hashtag called Living My Best Life. I love to eat out. I love to go to art galleries. I love my coffee. I love my me time. I actually realized that I'm a tad bit selfish. I love me. And so I started this Living My Best Life. And I wanted to really experience it. I also wanted to have my signature talk, but I wanted it to be authentic to me. And I wanted it to be my story that I'd honestly feel it and experience it. That way I would be able to put people through that experience. And so I went on a journey and I started with a self-discovery journey. And I asked myself the real hard questions. That was actually the period where I was able to identify the limiting beliefs I had been through, the periods I had lacked confidence. I had to ask myself why I was lacking confidence, because it didn't make any sense. I didn't come from a home where anyone said, oh, you're ugly or you're short. I had been a beauty pageant. I'd been in beauty pageants and won twice. So there was really I couldn't figure out any reason. So I had to start digging. And I found out that in all of that, I also came from a home where they always said, you must not put people down. You have to be humble. You must not show off. You must not do this. You must not make out like you have and other people don't have. You must always share. So the way my brain registered it was that I had to dim my light for others to shine. So I just never felt I had enough. And even when I did, I was too scared to say that I did because I wanted to make sure the other person did so the person doesn't feel inadequate. And so when I started this journey, I decided to dig out all these things. And that was the first thing I found. And, when you're in that state, what has happened is because you haven't identified who you truly are, you really have left your life open and attracted all sorts of people, negative, positive, whatever, you've attracted so many people. People say all sorts to you because they know you're going to take it. And that was what had happened to me. So I decided I was going to work on that. And I did that. I started with finding out what my true core values were. And in doing that, I found out that some of my core values, I wasn't living them anymore because I had just gotten lost in all the wanting to please people and wanting to be in the world. So I had to identify what my core values are. I also discovered that some of the values I thought were my core values were actually aspirational values. Now, what I did with the aspirational values, which by the way I'm still doing, is I had to create steps to work towards turning those aspirational values to my core values. And then I did that. When I did that, I already knew that some people and some things were going to fall off. So that's when you start to hear things like, oh, you've changed. And at the minute I started hearing that, I felt under my breath, I would say, no, I haven't changed. I've actually started living my best life, because you find out that values that don't align with yours begin to drop off. And of course, I needed to work on all the negativity and all the negative self-talk that I had said to myself. And I started talking to myself. Excuse me. I started talking to myself and praising myself and appreciating myself more. I also built a door. I built an imaginary door in my heart, in my mind, where I'm able to recognize values that are complete deal breakers. So I don't allow any negativity. I can almost sense it from a mile and I immediately shut it down. I don't allow any negativity. I have several other deal breakers. So I usually say, imagine yourself, your mind is like a room with only one door. The door can open in, but you can go in, but you can't go out. That's exactly what we are. We have that door that lets people and all sorts in, and whoever and whatever enters in your head is not going anywhere, trust me. And the minute I realized that, I immediately, in my mind, I'm like, listen, I don't even want to let you in. Don't even come close. And, that was how I started that. And then, trust me, it's not a destination, it's a journey. And I found out that I started cultivating new relationships. Some of my old relationships started making meaning, and some began to drop off. I became a better coach. I became a better speaker. And to be quite honest, I'm living my best life. I wake up happy and I go to bed happy. And that is not to say that I don't have challenges, but these challenges come and there's absolutely no one who doesn't have any challenges. What I have learned is to surround myself with positive people, wherever they come from. I love my family, but I think that a lot of times we over hype family. Now, the positive people, you have engines and you have anchors. That is not to say your family doesn't love you. There's some people who are just born engines. They give you energy. They come into your life and they encourage you. Some people are just not natural encouragers. They could be your sister, brother, husband, wife. And that's a totally different relationship. So I seek out the engines in my life and they bring me positivity. For the anchors are the people that just weigh you down. Those are the people that, they just empty their baggage on you, or you just finish with them and you're drained. Some of them you can't do without because they are family members, but I've learned to take them in small doses and also prepare my mind. And that's where expectation management comes in. I prepare my mind before meetings like that. And that is how I've handled it. And that is how I'm living my absolute best life. I have a little workbook I'll put in the chat. And if anyone wants to meet with me or have a chat with me, I'm very open. Thank you.
Awesome. There's a saying, nothing happens to us, only through us. We are responsible for what we allow in to infect. And I'll use that word, infect us. So, Omu, this has been fantastic. Thrive with Omu. Awesome. Right. So, what I'm going to do right now. Thank you. We've now heard from all four speakers. We heard firstly from Raja, then Nikki, then Jim. and now Omu. One person we haven't heard from before I open up the floor for Q&A is our CEO and founder of Kaushalya UK, Ritu Sharma. Just to say a few words, as Ritu was double booked at the beginning and couldn't come on camera. So Ritu, yes, please say a few words about this amazing platform.
Thank you so much, Carol. And what an honor, really, having all these wonderful, candid speakers we've had today. And Raja, I've missed your speech, but obviously I'm going to go back to the recording and watch you talk as well. We always look forward to our speakers, and Carol does a fab job of bringing the most precious gems to this platform. It's always inspiring. It's always precious. It's always value filled. All aspects of life, really, not just personal, but professional, business, everything really. And that is what life is about. It's about bringing everything together. And Jim's contribution, especially Jim, this platform came along because we had this big question that what is it that women talk about that men are not allowed to listen to? Now, obviously, there isn't anything we talk about that is anti-men and men should not be allowed to listen to. But this definitely has come to be a very safe space for our speakers to share and all our attendees to contribute and ask questions as well. And Carol and I have gone through a process where we sat down, had long chats and decided we want to host this event on a regular basis as well, because how Jim has come on today and has shared very personal journey where, you know, he was totally broken down. Men need to know that it's okay to express. And I think as women, we've been fortunate in a way that whenever we've hit hardships, we've kind of been expected to say it aloud and express our grief and sorrow, and nobody kind of labels us, but it's a different story for men. And there is no reason why we can't create that change. And Carol mentioned me being a playwright and an actor, and this is the play we did last year. We called it Mr. Singh's Had Enough, and it was a light that we threw on men's mental health and how it's a taboo still to talk about their problems and, you know, implications of that. So this is a wonderful platform. I'm so pleased and proud of what we have done here. All thanks to Carol, really, all the hard work she puts in and the beautiful representation she does for this platform. I am absolutely pleased to be here today. And yes, Raja, I do look forward to listening to you. Definitely will go back to the recording and hear it out. But a big and massive thank you to Carol and everybody who decided to share their valuable, very valuable time with us. I'll give it back to you, Carol. Thank you so much.
Oh, all right. Awesome. Thank you. So now, for those who have got burning questions, the floor is now open, or even comments, not just questions, but comments as well. So don't be shy. Either raise your virtual hand, your physical hand, or just unmute your mic and go for it. Now, Jazz, you did put a comment earlier on, didn't you?
Yeah, hi, good evening, everybody. And it was lovely of the other four or five candidates, what they shared with their experiences and everything. So I'm sure there are many women on this platform and men can actually share loads of experiences with them. So I didn't have a question, but basically myself, who's a single parent, I've been doing it for 9 years because my daughter's 9 years old. And at the time when I became a single parent, I didn't know I was going to become a single parent. It was a struggle. It was hard. And I didn't know how to find myself. I was angry with many people, including myself. And what actually happened, sorry, got butterfingers. So what actually happened was I started to connect with God. And when I connected with God, I started connecting with children. And because I used to see my own experience with my daughter, and even that she had her dad in and out of her life, it wasn't a positive relationship she had with him. It was very negative. But I kept on saying to her that, look, end of the day, a child needs both parents, negative or positive. But he left a remark on her that it was very negative all the time. And when I started going to this temple, I started hearing it from other children who used to say, oh, well, my mummy says this to me or something like that. And because I used to do meditation in my own time, way before I had my little girl, and I was 18 years old when I was listening to, women going through domestic violence. So, and I don't want to take the platform from other women as well, but, I have seen quite a lot of loads of people's struggles through a younger age, and I knew how to work with women and with children. So now what me and the community have done, we've made it into a children party. So where the children party, we do meditation, we do yoga, we have the things what children like to eat, like face painting, henna, creative stuff. So, where children can actually express their feelings. I know we as adults, we have a platform. We can talk to someone and we can be very open with our girlfriends, with our mums, or, well, I know with our mum especially, because they're like our best friends. But I have to say, children they don't know who to trust. So this platform, community came together. We thought children need to have a spokesperson as well. They need to be heard. We say children need to be heard, but they're not heard. So this was the platform, and we done one session last month, and it was very positive. And I think we had about 14 children, and it was so lovely just to have that connection. And we've got another one happening this Sunday. So just to make it into, we put it as King's Charles Coronation Day, but it is actually for them to connect with one another, so they can be freely to play, they can talk, and then it's just telling them, you're in the God's house and we are here to hear you. We are here to listen to you. We're not ignoring you. So when my daughter's heard this, and she's like, Mummy, you're the best person to do this, because you know what? You always say to me that I'm beautiful, I'm loving, I'm caring, and even people call me ugly, including my dad. And when I come out that virtual contact and you say, well, go in front of that mirror and say to yourself, I'm beautiful, I'm lovely, I'm gorgeous. And she goes, and you say that to me all the time. And then she goes, this is the best platform for other children to come and connect. And even when I go and pick her up after school, there's a girl in her class, she just comes running. And I know the mum, but she just comes running and she comes and gives me a hug. And she's like, I'm like, are you okay? And she went, yeah, I just needed a hug. And I'm like, that's fine. You can have a hug. So, so there's like an inspiration, what we're trying to connect. And like I was saying to Nikki as well in the private chat as well, that I'm trying to get because I'm born, my background is Sikhism, but my belief, I have gone right connected with Lord Shiva, but we're trying to get even young children who are from Sikh community, because there's so many divorces happening in Sikh communities as well, and there's no one to hear them. So I'm trying to get into that temple, churches, because I'm going to St. John's church on Sunday. So we're trying to get young children to connect in one way, but even it's through God's house, but it's just to hear them out, really.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jazz. Thank you. Awesome. Can I just pause for a minute to say a warm welcome to Nilu?
Yep.
Lovely to have you here. Yes, Nilu and I go a long way back, many years, and reacquainted last year. So Nilu, great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Carol.
Oh, so, can I ask a question? I know what the answer is going to be from Nikki. I think I know what the answer is going to be from Jazz, and definitely I know what the answer is going to be from Ritu. And also Omu. You touched on it. Who here can confidently say they practice self-love and self-care? Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. It is so important. You are priceless. We are priceless. There's not a carbon copy of us anywhere. And you know what? Life should be an adventure. So, oh, Kate, yes, you do. Awesome. And Sam. Wonderful. So again, any other questions? It's just something I want us to just, when we leave here, if we don't practice self-love, why don't we? Don't we value ourselves? This is the only body we have to live in. And we need to make the most of it. And taking time out. I block out time in my diary for me. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. I only do things I want to do on those days. Nothing else. So, okay.
And I just want to say that Omu touched upon that it's not a destination, it's a journey. That is so true.
Yeah.
That is so true. I mean, we get to one point and we find there for a bit, and then the next part, the unrest that, oh, this needs to get better, this needs to change. And that is so valid. One, we cannot just settle in at where we've got to. We've got to keep striving for better, because there is more. Yeah. There is more to us. There is more to learning. There is more to so much more. And two, we may not be as privileged as Carol spending 3 days on ourselves, but whatever we can grab, whatever we can do to pour within, I think it's great.
Yeah. There's a reason I'm retired. Yes. Oh.
Can I just add, I mean, I've just turned 40 on Tuesday, and I don't want anyone to wish me, but I just wanted to say sometimes people's journeys can start from 20, 30, 40, 50, up till 60. Easily. It doesn't matter what age you are, your journey carries on. But just remember, when we're younger, we don't appreciate ourselves. We don't say, oh, we love ourselves at that young age, because we think, yes, you know what, I'm going to have this body, I'm going to have this space for all that period of time. But when you actually become a parent and you see that value of the time and pressures what your parents have put in for you, that's when you value yourself even more. And you're like, no, I'm going to love myself. Me is first, and then everybody's after. So when you value that, and then you think, no, I love my mum even more. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'll just add that I'm happy you said that, because I was just saying to someone today that I realized that a lot of people start their journeys even at an older age, and it has nothing to do with age. Yeah. It just has a lot to do with self-awareness. I used to think it was with age, and I used to wonder, I'm 52. And when I see my mates doing certain things, I'm like, how can you be doing this? Where were you 10 years ago? And then I sit down and I'm like, listen, we all have different journeys. We're all running different races. Some are faster than the others. Some started late, some started early. And just appreciate everyone for where they are and enjoy where you are. So it's not really about, it has nothing to do with age. I know that in one of John Maxwell's books, he actually said something to do with knowledge and age or something like that. And he went on to say, like I always tell people, that if it had anything to do with age, then you would not find old people who are not particularly smart. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to share also that.
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sure. Here, take your
Yeah.
hand up first.
Can I speak?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to add, when we start to talk about age, I think this is where you really touched me, because especially for women, women tend to, worry so much about age, and it's something that I use myself as an example. Wherever I'm speaking, I say to people, age is a number. And if you believe you are 10, then obviously you behave 10. And if you believe you're 100, that's how you will behave. And for me, I make sure that I tell people how old I am, because they don't believe me. And I'm also so proud that when I tell people my age, they say, no, it can't be. While I'm standing here, I can just say to you all that I am 74, and a proud 74. And the things that I do, the friends I have are much, much younger than me. I haven't, all the ones that are in my age group, they're either behaving geriatric and I get annoyed, or they think, oh, this is the end of the world. They don't want to do anything anymore. Why? For me, I go to the shop, I look at the nice things I want to buy, I get dressed up, I put my lipstick, and I go swimming, and I do everything and anything. And people ask me, Auntie Kate, I'm popularly known as Auntie Kate. People ask, Auntie Kate, what do you do? I said, I love myself. It's self-love. Self-love. I get up in the morning, when I go have my bath, I come out in the mirror and I look at it and I say, oh yes, Kate, you are looking good. People should do that, and I don't believe at all. And I go to parties and I come back at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., all dancing away with everybody, much half younger than me. And this is the way I see it. And maybe this is why, maybe look younger than my age, as people say. I'm 74, and I'm so proud to say I'm 74 when I'm talking to people, because especially when I travel in public transport and they don't get up for me, because they look at me and I keep saying, do you know I'm geriatric? I wish that I could say I'm geriatric, get up for me. But it makes me feel good anyway. So I think we, especially women, please love yourself, forget about age. It's a number, and that is the only way what I can add to it. So really, we should enjoy every single part of our life, because life is too short. Thank you.
Absolutely. Right on. Oh, and yes, you did stun me. You did, Kate. Seriously.
I wanted to
Alright,
share
Kausha.
that before I hop off here. First of all, Carol, great job, and Magrito, great job. Like next time, we're thinking about coming to London next year to a visit. So we should try to plan something we could do, maybe live and in person. That would be a fun.
Absolutely. Please let us know your plans, and we'd love that. Carol and I would absolutely love to do something.
Gotcha. All right, and that was part one. Part two, Jazz. When Jazz was talking about her experience and like building up self-esteem, I just said, "Oh my God, I have to find this." I haven't opened this in about 2 years. I just found this file. This is my self-esteem book that I used to give out to the parents when their children would join my karate school. There it is, right there, Vedic Martial Arts, which is sadly closed now. But I loved being able to build children from the ground up and help them, because when you go from that white belt mind lock to that black belt mind shift, it stays with you forever. It really does. That's why black belts in the martial arts, they achieve greatness in other areas of their life. You can't help but do it, because it spills over, because you learn leadership, teamwork, communication, teaching skills. It is the hardest thing in the world to teach. It really is. So I give all the teachers out there a lot of credit for going out there and being those great teachers. So I put the PDF in the chat. Make sure you save the chat. Use the 3 buttons at the bottom and click Save Chat, and then it's yours. And I don't get anything out of it. The school is closed, but it's a phenomenal resource to show parents and children how they can build up their self-esteem versus their confidence, and they're 2 different things.
Awesome. Thank you. Very generous. Thank you, Raja. I'm just looking to see if I can find it.
I just wanted
I've got it. I've got it. Yeah.
I just wanted to say thank you, Raja. That was really, really kind of you. But yeah, it is to boost the children's self-esteem, and they do go through a lot. You know, even you have both parents bringing up children together. Even you're doing it single-handedly, it is quite a major struggle. So whoever parents out there doing it together, singly or whatever, you know what, hats off to you.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Great job, everyone.
Thank you,
Let's go.
Raja.
Thank you.
Oh,
Auntie Kate.
Hi.
Thank
Hi,
you,
Selena.
Carol.
I had another meeting, so I couldn't join on time.
Yeah, me too.
Kate, it's so inspirational what you've said.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And also, just you have to actually trust yourself and believe in yourself. Because I'm a single mother as well. I brought up 4, 2 boys and 2 girls. You know, so nothing is difficult. You just have to believe in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Raja.
And you obviously have the right people around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say thank you, Kate. The reason I put down the age, I was saying it doesn't matter what age you start from. You can start from any age and just build yourself up. I mean, my mum's 60 now, and she has starting to see a lot of life now when she didn't before.
Yeah.
So
I think the most important thing is not to give up hope, and you know, at any age, you know, not to give up hope, because I tell you honestly, I still enjoy going out. I do go out to parties, I do go out to cinemas, I do go out, you know, anything. You know, if you ask anyone, they will say to you, oh, and when I go, I dance until the last record before I start leaving the place. And that's me. If you ask anybody, Auntie Kate, they tell you, oh,
we'll have to party with Kate. Jazz, everyone, all of us, let's all get together, party.
Oh, definitely. You know, you should ask when I had my book launch, you know, Destiny was there, you know, Brenda was there, you know, and we had to get Brenda to dance. You couldn't believe it, you know, it was just an evening of just dance, and it's just a book launch, you know. So for me, anything to just get a party, get people together, you know. I just believe that life is too short. Just enjoy it, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I got involved in the technological side of blockchain at 65 because life is an adventure, and to be treated as such. Tomorrow is never guaranteed, and making
tomorrow is never guaranteed.
Exactly.
You know, never guarantee. And
every day should be a school day.
Yes. I add that with holiday. Any holiday that I can put in, I put in, and then I'm off. You know, because I never know whether tomorrow I'll be there tomorrow. So, you know, I don't let anything stop me, you know, because maybe I'm taking my last breath to do that. I don't know. Yeah. And, you know, and I like to make friends, meet new friends, you know, and I also like to talk about me, because sometimes there are people who are having a maybe a hard time, but if you tell them how things has gone with you or how hard, and then you manage to come out on the other end, you know, it's something. You've inspired someone, you've lifted someone, and, you know, things just carry on.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Lovely. Selena, it's been lovely to see you today. Not see you, but hear you. You've come after a very long time, my lovely. And it'd be great to catch up soon when you can.
Yeah, it was good to just say hi, to see you. Last time I was here, you were not there.
Yeah, I was away then.
Yeah.
Yeah, lovely to have you here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's been such valuable time we've spent together
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you, Moo. Please
Thank
keep
you.
in touch, everyone. Lots of love.
Take
Bye.
care.
Auntie Kate, keep the power.
Thank you, Mo. Thank
then.
you.
Thank you so
That's
much.
great.
Bye.
That's great. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.